everybody who loves reading knows something about this, that at one level it's a refuge from other people. It's a wonderful hiding place.
And Proust on reading talks about the dangers of reading. Reading that becomes a palliative for life.
And also, he is obsessed in the novel about reading people, as though if you can read people like books, you could be okay. Whereas he keeps finding, of course, it really isn't like that.
It doesn't work that way.
No, it doesn't work that way. Because this is why, I mean, in that account, that's why you can't just read psychoanalytic theory instead of having an analysis. It isn't like that. In a way, it makes this issue very vivid. That actually, if you want whatever it is that psychoanalysis has got to offer, you have to have the analysis. You can't just read the books for the same reason.
In your chapter, Not Getting It, you speak about jokes. And jokes are problematic on so many levels because a joke demands a response. And a joke also excludes. And a joke is also there, to use a word that I very much like, that you use in Missing Out, humiliation.
But jokes are a real test of sociability, aren't they? Because if I tell a joke...
Do you tell jokes?
No. If I say to you, I'm going to tell you a great joke, obviously I can't tell you a great joke, I can tell you a joke, and you will tell me whether it's great in your response. If I was to tell a joke now, it could be excruciatingly embarrassing or a roaring success. But it would be like a sort of love test to the audience. Are we all together in this? Or in fact, am I an isolate? Do I think something's hilarious, which actually nobody is even amused by, indeed might be embarrassed by? So it's a real test of sociability, a real test of sort of one's relationship to the group. The other bit I think that's very interesting, which is the thing Freud says, which is we never really know what about a joke amuses us. And in that sense, jokes are like sort of tacit communications, in the sense of if we get it, we laugh. But what we don't get is what getting it involves. We don't actually know what we've got. All we know is that we've been amused. And Freud makes, as you know, a lot of this, because there is a lot in it. Because it's a very strange form of, you never know with a joke whether it's creating a collusion or a collaboration. You know, whether you've got a sort of gang of accomplices who all share a sense of humour, whether it's a cult, so to speak, or whether it's a group of differently minded people. And Freud is obviously very onto this, because he's wondering what kind of intimacy jokes create. Do they sort of gloss over differences between people? Are they like magical acts of intimacy? And I think all those things Freud is suspicious of, not in a cynical way, but in a genuinely questioning way. You know, wondering what we're doing with this stuff.
Your response makes me think of one of the comments I hate most. I actually abhor when people tell you, I know exactly how you feel.
But in a way, you wonder why anybody would want somebody to know exactly how they feel. Obviously, I mean, what happens then? Let's say you know exactly how I feel. What is it assumed that will then happen as a consequence of this? Because it would seem to me self-evident that people have a limited apprehension of what each other feel. It's always going to be approximate. Knowing people is often very much about dealing with the anxiety that one can't control them. As though, if I know you or understand you in a certain sense, I will have some sense of sort of what you're doing and where you're going when you're not with me. Whereas, in fact, I don't have any sense. I don't really know that. As young children, we listen to adults talking before we understand what they're saying.
An exhilarating moment.
Yeah, and it's a very, very powerful thing, that. And that's, after all, where we start. We start in a position of not getting it.
One of the quotations come to mind in Missing Out from Randall Jarrell. The way we miss our lives is life.
It's a great, it's
just
line.
Fantastic.
It's a brilliant line.
I read this so many times and I thought, my goodness, this is fantastic.
Yeah, exactly.
But and it's just a few words.
Yeah.
What does it mean? And do I want to know what it means? But my goodness, it is so true.
Yeah, or yes, or
and it is so painful because it is so true.
What's painful about it?
Okay, I won't answer. Tell me what it is.
No, go on, seriously. No, but seriously, what is painful about it? You mean as though there's only loss? Because it could be extremely comforting, couldn't it? It could be a way of saying, actually, that's what a life is. It's the lives you don't have. As if to say, don't worry, because that's what a life is. What I'm saying is, there could be a comfort in that line, And the comfort would be something like, you don't have to worry about trying to have the lives you think you're missing.
Really?
You could just think, the way we miss our lives is life. Or you could think, this is terrible. If this is true, it's a catastrophe. Because we're always in a state of irredeemable mourning.
I think I'm approaching more the latter than the former. Do you approach it more in the first way of looking
No, I
at
think
it?
both things are true. You know,
And that is what is interesting to my mind, is that both things are true.
there's a mood in which you'll feel this is a terrible fact about life, that we're always going to be preoccupied by what we're missing, and there's no way around it. And in another mood, we could think, well, that's what it is to live a life. So get used to it. That's the point. It's not the problem, it's the point.
Okay.